Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Let me acknowledge the presence of Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, the Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, and Social Security. Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister for Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. We have with us this morning our Press Secretary from the Office of the Prime Minister, representatives of the Kalinago Council, Mr. Prosper Paris, and other members of the Kalinago Events Committee, Mrs. Gwen F. Frederick, manager of the Kalinago Barana Ote, other invited guests, the media, those listening via the radio and other social media platforms. We're indeed happy to have you here today as we launch the Kalinago 120 initiative. This morning we will hear from Mr. Prosper Paris, who will give us an overview of what the Kalinago 120 initiative is. We will have remarks from a representative of the Kalinago Council. We will also have an address by Honorable Kozia Frederick, who is the Minister responsible for Kalinago Upliftment. And of course, we are always honored to have Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, who is the Acting Prime Minister, to address us. After which, we will have some questions from the media. So I will now invite Mr. Prosper Paris to give us an overview.
Paprika. This protocol has been established. I will just say my own Watsina, we are happy to have you here at this gathering. The Kalinago 120 initiative is a program of the Department of the Kalinago Upliftment of the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment to commemorate the establishment of the Kalinago territory, originally referred to as the Carib Reserve, on July 4th, 1903. The theme for the Kalinago 120 initiative is Our Land, Foothold of Our Survival. We intend to focus on our existence in the form of an evaluation over the 120 years. We'll also hold various symposiums to address matters of land management and our natural resources such as coastal erosion, forestry, and water resource, agriculture, practices for sustainable and commercial enterprise, as well as the economic development of the Kalinago territory. We plan to engage the Kalinago people, national and regional experts with knowledge and skill in various fields, and the general public for a series of consultation, webinars, seminars, and lectures on the above-mentioned topics. In the first 3 months, from July to September, we will commemorate the establishment of the territory from July 1st to the 9th with a number of activities. From August 7th to 9th, we will observe International Day of Indigenous People, and from September 16th to the 24th, we will commemorate Kalinago Memorial Day, also known as Kalinago Week. We intend to improve the landscape of our people by settling on a date for the establishment of the Kalinago National Day, the finalization of a Kalinago flag so as to give better pride and general positive recognition of the indigenous people of Dominica and the only indigenous reservation in the entire Eastern Caribbean. Our aim is to hold discussion on the economic development of the Kalinago territory and also to put in place a strategy to increase indigenous networking with other international indigenous organizations and people. The activities of Kalinago 1920 initiative will be spread over a 1-year period. There will be different areas of focus such as culture, heritage and health, tourism, youth, elders, forestry, sustainable economic development, among others. Let me provide you with some of the activities that will be undertaken during the first 3 months. So I'll go now into the activities. We focus on our first activity from July 1st. So July 1st, we will have a hike, and with a new hike has been established, the canoe trail in Charles Warner. So that will be from 7 a.m. We will invite all the Dominican hikers as well as the public to the public service. Then we have a small ceremony and a signage of the trail, so people that are too familiar will not lost their way when they get to the Kalinago territory. You can see a clear signage to this canoe trail. It will have a Kalinago name attached to it, with the Kalinago Kana or Emma, so we definitely don't miss that. We will also have on that day, it will be full moon. So evening we have a smoke ceremony and ritual under the waterfall, that is at Isulukati waterfall in Privilege River, that is in property of the Kalinago Baranaote. Drumming session, and we'll have some music to end this activity for the day. On July 2nd, we have the bearing of the torch and sports day. We intend to have a torch relay that will be from hamlet to hamlet to take it from the eastern end to the north. So we have the Syndico playing field. We end the Syndico playing field, various sporting activities, and we also offer a hike to the Escaliteche. So those of you who have not been to Escaliteche, or you've just been by yourself, maybe you could engage me, because I have some beautiful stories of the snake and the other legend to tell you. So it will be a lot of fun for the children that are coming up, people who have never been there, so they can have really a fun day, not only sport, but also learning one of the most interesting landscape, legend sport, scenic sport in the Kalinago territory. On the 3rd, we would have the launching from the book launch, that is a Kalinago storybook will be launched at 2 p.m. and that will be done at the KBA. And on July 4th itself, which is the main day that the territory established the reserve, which is called then, we'll have unveiling of the Kalinago Bongi Rock in the morning, and that will more specifically be a smoke ceremony and ritual at Deboche Rock. Some of you have driven there past and you have not known that is part of the beginning of on that western part of our Bongi line at Deboche. So there'll be a clear sign saying it will be on the other side, or on Holy Land on the other side. So that will be done on the 4th, and in the afternoon at 2:40 p.m. we have a land symposium, a webinar, where we engage community leaders and invited specialists to discuss land use management of the Kalinago territory. A display of exhibit from the museum we have the same day, which is a display at the school library, short opening of ceremony with representatives from the Leiden University and from the archaeological department that will have a display of agriculture and history about what they have done over the years. On the 6th, we would have a discussion with the youth representative of the Leiden University I just mentioned, and that will be at the Salida School. On July 8th, a health fair. We cannot do nothing without our health, and we're focusing on our local practitioners or professionals of the Kalinago territory, as well as our local herbalists. So it's important that we really integrating the two intellectual people, those who study the more conventional herbs, and those who also have moved to a tradition, which is serves us very well. Because as you know, most of us Dominican white Kubulians know that when we go to the pharmacy and it don't work, we have to go back to the herbs, go back to orphanage or herbs. So we'll have the two activities in one spot to give you an option, whether you want to drink something that will give you a side effect, or whether you want something natural that will cure you. So we'll have a good discussion, a good engagement on that particular day. I'm looking forward, very interested in that health fair, where we really show our true Kalinagoness in terms of what our forefathers has left for us In every book you read about herbs in Dominica or writers, you'll see the last paragraph, you see the Caribs also use it. That means most of the knowledge came from us and other people who printed. Okay, so we have on July, so that will happen. And then July 9th, we have the tuna line, which is most of social at Lasema Joe up in Concord area, where you can, socialize with people from Concord, get yourself a bath. On the other activities will happen in August, just about World International Indigenous Day. We'll have the one activity, and that will be two activities actually. And the first activity we have the Kabuya Kalinago Festival, which is just releasing it now from my mouth because I was asked to do a word for that. The Kabuya is in Kalinago is a rope where we rope in all the talent and all the skills we have together and present it. So we have the Kabuya, and that will be in the form of craft music festival, and that will be at the Barona OT. The activities will involve smoke and naming ceremony, crafts, souvenirs, herbal exhibition, drumming session. We have the demo session include wood making, carving balls, cassava making, pig roasting. Oh my God, you're getting hungry. Herbal teas, face painting, photos, and bands and DJ splash, eat and drink. So this is all fun. I'm inviting all of you who are listening, all of you who will listen today and will listen over the media, to please come and support the initiative, because that will bring some academic activity in the Kalinago territory. And on the 9th, which is the World International Day itself, they will have address of the minister. We organize talking point on the radio, both for the minister and the Kalinago chief. And we also try to have it live on Experience Creole. The other program which we have planned is already in September, which I mentioned earlier, Memorial Day or Kalinago Week, and that is from the 16th to the 24th. And just to give you a quick rundown, we have on the 16th and 17th the cricket tournament, and it is Adam Sanford cricket tournament. We have the Miss Kalinago pageant on the night of the 16th, where we will write for who will be Miss Kalinago this year. We will have church service honoring the elders on the 17th. And this year we need different, that we want to honor one elder of the Kalinago territory because it's significant of working in the line of any specific area which we will choose an elder. And we also have on the 18th, we have the school lectures, and that day will be the leadership of the Kalinago territory, the parliamentary representatives, the minister, the Kalinago chief and councillors and other leaders. We will visit the school. We visit the school before all the time, but especially parents on that day, where you can bring tokens to the school and so forth. We also have school lectures. We have the ministers and the council who will do that. And on the 19th, that is the 19th of September, which is the actual day of the resistance, we have a smoke ceremony on site, held at the site of the uprising. And on the 20th, we'll have a secondary school debate among the secondary school serving the Kalinago children. So most basically the Castles and the Northeastern Comprehensive School will be taking part in that. On 21st, we also have our spelling bee, which is a program we have ongoing, and it will continue for a long time. A spelling bee competition where we highlight and focus on Kalinago language. The spelling bee competition among the primary school of the territory, and also we have not put it there, but we want to promote our Kalinago dress day on that particular day. Just like independence, you put your Creole dress, and so we want to really showcase our Kalinago dress. On the 22nd, we have the drumming and storytelling. That is open storytelling and drumming activity, and that will, of course, we have many stories. We have skilled drummers. Actually, we are one of the most skilled drummers in Dominica, in the Kalinago territory. So I'm sure you want to listen to this rendition, and all the drummers will invite to partner with us. On the Saturday, which is 23rd, we have a market day. That will be in collaboration with the Mahau River Development Committee. So we kind of moving up from where we previously have, and that every hamlet will have the opportunity to have those type of activity which we can coordinate through the committee. So the development committee, however, will be partnering with them to have that done. And then on the 24th, which will end the Kalinago week, we'll have water sports activity, socializing, competition, music, eat and drink. So we will start all the work we do for the week, but we will start ending up on those take a sea bath somewhere and cool down. So that is our program for the Kalinago 120 initiative. Thank you very much.
Babrika to everybody here today. I want to say I'd like to first recognize the presence of the Honorable Dr. Ilvin McIntyre, Mr. Koza Frederick, Environment University for the Rural Modernization, Calendar Upliftment, and the Environment and Constituency Empowerment. Also, the presence of the head of the Kalinago Events Committee, Mr. Prosper Paris, and the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Sylvania Britton. And I'd like to first off say thank you to the Events Committee and the team of the 120 Initiative for putting this program together. It is very thorough, and it has been a very, time-consuming task to put all these programs together. And a lot of people have done a lot of work into this initiative. And I would like to also remind us about the value of the Kalinago land, which I know for sure was the point that many of the elders shared when discussing about the celebration of the 120 initiative. We wanted us to be adamant that the land plays a massive cultural value to us, the Kalinago people, and that the value of the land transcends the boundaries limiting the Kalinago territory, and the culture itself we can see it branch out for the entirety of the island of Dominica. And as we commemorate this milestone, let us reaffirm our commitment to protecting and preserving our land, and may we continue to honor the legacy of our ancestors by nurturing the Kalinago territory for future generations and ensuring that immeasurable value remains as a beacon of hope and testament to our enduring spirit. Let us embrace the festivities and our cultural practices that have defined our community for centuries. One such tradition as the smoke ceremony, a connection with a spiritual realm. The smoke ceremony we find by our chief shaman and our other elders and spiritual leaders can serve as a powerful reminder to our roots and our importance of the spiritual well-being in our daily lives. In addition to the smoke ceremony, let us also engage in the school visits and educational discussions that Mr. Prosper Paris brought up about the Kalinago culture and how it has shaped and defined our people over the years. By inviting students from neighboring communities to visit the Kalinago territory, we can create opportunities for understanding and appreciation for our traditions through educational discussions led by our very own Mr. Prosper Paris and the Honorable Mr. Koza Frederick. Let us share the stories and legends and wisdom passed on through the generation and shine a light on the rich tapestry of our Kalinago heritage. These school visits and educational discoveries will serve as a platform for mutual learning and growth, allowing us to celebrate our culture and diversity while nurturing a sense of unity amongst all of us. As we gather here to commemorate the 120th anniversary and the establishment of the Kalinago territory, let us embrace these festivities. Let us embrace these festivities. Apologize. Yes. As we honor this milestone, let us reaffirm our commitment to preserving our land and our culture for generations to come. Let us continue to cherish and protect our sacred territory, nurturing it as a beacon of our enduring spirit, and let us embrace our shared history together. Let us celebrate our vibrant culture and forge a future that honors the legacy of our ancestors. Ayahora. Mabrika to everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Mrs. Sylvia Britton, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, the Press Secretary, representative of the Kalinago Council, Mr. Devon Coffey, past parliamentarian, former minister, my former boss, Cassius Darrow, Mr. Prosper Paris, and members of the Events Committee, Mrs. Gwenna Frederick, the manager of the KBA, and my wife, the listening public, the Kalinago Braves who are there, the media, and all of you listening on the various social media platforms. Mabrika to you all. So July 4th, or some say 4th of July. July 4th is a significant day in the history of the Kalinago on the island of Waitikubu. A very important time. It's a time that the British demarcated a portion of land and they held it a Carib Reserve to be held in care for descendants of the Kalinago people. We have many arguments about this particular structure because the histories would have shown us that we lived and owned the entire Caribbean at one time, the entire island after that, and now the Kalinago space is just a mere 2% of Waitikubu. However, we have an opportunity by doing the Kalinago initiative, the 120 initiative, to remind ourselves of the history, remind fellow Dominicans of the history that we share in common. And so we want to commemorate, not celebrate, but commemorate the July 4th. Because there are a number of achievements we would have accomplished during the 120 years. And we want to reaffirm the commitments of the ideals that set up the community in 1903. And so as we're preparing to commemorate the birth of the Kalinago space, we have to realize that it is an area that holds high importance to us and is very, very critical in our lives. And so the commemoration of the Kalinago establishment reminds us of the courage and the determination of the people who came before us. Those who laid the foundation upon which we now stand. It is through their dedication and an unwavering belief in a better future that we have come to this crucial moment in our history. So the commemoration should not just be a nostalgic moment, something that is a sentimental. It is a time really to honor the sacrifices and the challenges that we had to overcome for more than 120 years. And so it allows us to pay tribute to our past leaders, and also, importantly, to just the ordinary people who survived the onslaught of colonization and the remnants of slavery. And so their struggles, their triumphs, they serve as a beacon, an inspiration for those of us alive today and those of us who will share that space in the future. It's also a time that we have an opportunity to learn from some of our mistakes and also to draw strength from all of the achievements we have had that shape our identity within what we now call the Kalinago territory, or what I prefer to call the Kalinago space. So during the course of the activities for the 120 years, we intend to instill a sense of pride, but also a sense of unity among the entire Dominican population, or I should say Waitikubuan population. Because it is fostering a collective consciousness that will help us to bring the community together and also to bring the country together. And so we really have to take stock of all of the achievements that we've had, but also we need to find some time to identify some areas for improvement. It's very crucial. And so we must always evaluate the values and the principles that establish the community, and also we need to recommit our commitment to building that community with all of the challenges of the global community. And so the initiative will serve as a platform for dialogue and engagement. It is a really time for all of us in the country to come together to share our stories and very importantly to learn from each other. It's a time to bridge the gaps between generations. It's a time to pass on all of the knowledge and the wisdoms and to inspire a new wave of leaders and also a new wave of just ordinary people who want to contribute. And so we will help to, within that 120 initiative, to continue to ensure that the legacy of those who came before us, who struggled and who died and who bled, that legacy remains with us, and that we are reminded of this golden time. And so in a rapid changing world, the forces of globalization and technological advancement can sometimes leave us disconnected and adrift. And so the activities planned will ground us in our shared heritage. So it will also remind us of our collective journey, the challenges we have faced, and also the values that really bind us together as citizens of Waichikubuli. It will help us to foster a sense of identity, purpose, and resilience. So I would really like us to embrace the importance of 120 years of the Kalinago space. We need to work together to remember the past struggles, celebrate the achievements, and also reflect on the journey moving forward. We want everyone to be inspired by our stories. We want everyone to find strength to help us build a better future. And so we need the entire nation to join us as we honor our collective history and preserve our values, and especially as we chart a more fruitful course for the Kalinago space. Thank you very much. In Kalinago, Ayawara.
Thank you, Minister. I will now invite to the podium Honorable Dr. Owen McIntyre, the Acting Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, to address us.
Thank you very much. Yes. Let me first recognize Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister for Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, Mrs. Sylvani Burton, Permanent Secretary, Ministry for Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, representatives of the Kalinago Council, Mr. Devon Coffey, Mr. Prosper Paris, and members of the Kalinago Events Committee, Mrs. Gwenna Frederick, Manager of the Kalinago Maranarte, other invited guests, the media, those listening via the radio and other social media platforms. Good morning to everyone. Congratulations to Minister Frederick, the ministry with the responsibility for Kalinago Upliftment, the Permanent Secretary and the Kalinago people on the launch of the Kalinago 120 initiative, a celebration of Kalinago history and accomplishments. The Kalinago are our first peoples. Therefore, their customs and traditions are most valued and treasured components of our history and identity. Indeed, this is a thriving community of proud, brave citizens who stand as one of the only surviving groups of indigenous people in our region. We are especially proud that they have managed to preserve so many of the aspects of their rich, vibrant, and inspiring culture. I believe that Kalinago culture and heritage are among the most outstanding features of the Dominican character. These unique attributes must be celebrated and preserved, and we must welcome every opportunity to pay homage to our Kalinago ancestors, as well as to those who continue to maintain the customs and traditions of the Kalinago people, including our own Kalinago brave, Honorable Kozia Frederick. As a people and government, we must always find ways to do more to honor their dynamic culture, the arts and crafts, stories, songs, folklore and proverbs, cultural values, beliefs and rituals, local languages, agricultural and fishing practices, the natural sites. Together, we must identify new avenues to bring Kalinago into the mainstream of our social and economic life in Dominica. How can we harness their incredible gifts and talents to improve their social and economic circumstances? How can we assist the Kalinago people to leverage their skills, their crafts, and the uniqueness of their culture to attract more visitors to the Kalinago space and increase economic activity? The government of Dominica will continue all efforts to lift our first people out of economic dependence, increase opportunities for them to build their wealth, and create avenues for growth in agriculture and enterprise and education. One way we have done so is through the establishment of the Kalinago Development Fund, through which we are addressing the existing socio-economic needs of the Kalinago community. It builds on our recent interventions in housing, agriculture, small business and craft development, and disaster risk mitigation. Under the fund, the Kalinago people can access funding at the most concessionary interest rate of only 2%. Ongoing in the territory is over $5 million resilience building project, which includes the construction of a multi-purpose facility to serve as an emergency shelter, a community center for skills training and other educational, cultural, and social activity. The project is part of our efforts to boost climate resilience, capacity, and empower residents to respond to disaster effects. Since the passage of Hurricane Maria, we have handed a number of homes to residents under the EU-funded Housing Reconstruction Program, and another quantity of homes will soon be presented to the Kalinago people with the aim of reducing risk vulnerability in the 8 hamlets within the territory. This is part of our commitment to build no fewer than 200 homes in the Kalinago territory to provide residents with safe, resilient shelter, a better quality of life, and greater independence. An additional 107 homes were approved under the Housing Recovery Project and are at various stages of completion. These are just some of the ways we are empowering the Kalinago people to sustain livelihoods, increase earnings and household incomes, and launch financially viable businesses. Thank you. We continue to provide support in crop production and processing, offshore fisheries, arts and crafts, and auxiliary tourism industries. The Kalinago 120 initiative will be a wonderful showcase of the achievements of the Kalinago territory since its establishment in 1903. It is important that we preserve and promote the rich diversity of the Kalinago heritage, including the practices, knowledge, and skills for future generations. This initiative is the ideal opportunity to increase awareness of the outstanding contribution of our indigenous people to national life. The activities will also serve as a platform for stakeholders to map a more progressive future for the Kalinago territory and focus on greater inclusivity and participation of the Kalinago people in national affairs. The government of Dominica is fully supportive of this initiative because we are committed and invested in the advancement of the Kalinago people, while seeking to ensure the continuation and transmission of their culture, customs, and history. I look forward to the celebration as they unfold and once again pledge our full support. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McIntyre, and Minister Frederick questions if they are from the press. Any questions?
I have a question. Yes, thank you. Minister, you mentioned that one of the objectives of the activity would be to build unity, not only within the Kalinago space, but nationally. And I also listened to the long list of activities planned for the Kalinago 120 initiative. I just wanted to know how you would bring all of this together, and if you could just stress a little bit more on how you expect these activities, this initiative to build the kind of unity you alluded to in your presentation.
So the idea is to first of all remind the citizens of the country that we have a shared heritage in Kalinago heritage, and it has been it is really the foundation of what we know as Kaiti Kubuli, and it's a big part of what we know as Creole, because all of the plants in Creole, all the animals are Kalinago names. There are actually villages across the country that still hold Kalinago names, and it's for the most part it is celebrated as Creole. Right? So one of the things we're looking at is to encourage people who understand the history to participate in that adventure. So this is not just if you look at the program, it's not just an initiative for the Kalinago people, it's for the entire nation. And we also want to make links with other communities, because you'll be well aware that there are communities across the country that still have people who, for the most part, look more Kalinago than me in some instances. And so we want them to be proud of that heritage. And so while we have a smaller space which is dedicated to the descendants, but we realize that there are people around. So what we're trying to do is to bring people together and use their expertise, use the knowledge that they have. They also have stories, and they would have garnered that from their grandparents. And so we want them to participate in it. So we have a sort of open door policy on that movement, because we don't want it to be confined within a particular space. But we're also mindful that we have limited expertise and we have limited resources within the space, human capacity, so we're really opening it up to everyone. And we've been doing the Kalinago Week activities every September. And for the most part, we've been able to get a lot of buy-in from people across the country. But we want it to be bigger than just a one-time event. And so that's why the list of activities spans an entire year, where we'll have time to evaluate some of the things we're doing, adjust them for a next event, and so in pulling it together, we're looking at various agencies. We're working with the Cultural Division, the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all the players who have a hand in the Kalinago space, and who for the most part understand the history and culture, and appreciate the fact that the white Cuban society is built heavily on a strong Kalinago heritage. So it is a tough task. I can tell you, it's a very tough task to put all of it together, because even while we're discussing this initiative, there's a school of thought that why you want to celebrate something that when all your lands were taken and now you're stuck in one corner. And that's why we're really looking at the commemoration, and because it is our reality. We cannot reverse that fact. And so we look at events to really get everyone on board and to celebrate and to really appreciate that for the most part, if you dig really deep, everyone in the room has some kind of ancestry somewhere along the line. And so we want you to take ownership of it and not be ashamed of it, and come forward and assist us in celebrating our heritage. Thank you.
Inviting the regional partners as part of this. I know
Yes. So we do have regional connections in the Garifuna in what was known as British Honduras Bellies. We do have a small community in Trinidad also, of Caribs, the Kalinago. In St. Vincent, we do have the Garifuna also on the East Coast, so making connections. So during the course of the entire year, we want to create some cultural exchanges. We want to ensure that people participate in online webinars, etc., to just share our common history. Because like I said earlier on, we really, the entire Caribbean was our place. We just got on a canoe and now we have a passport and people trying something with CSME. We figured out that thing out long time. We got on a boat out there and we knew the currents, we followed the stars, and we had no GPS. We just got out there and we just got to Martinique. And we were doing this, so we do have those connections. But also, and just speaking very briefly to the Kalinago Braves who exist around the country, that we have a bigger brotherhood across the globe, actually. Because there are many indigenous communities who exist in Canada, in the US, even on the African continent, in Asia. And so sometimes we feel that we are alone, but we are not. And as a matter of fact, one of the celebrations of part of the 120 is celebrating the fact that our situation in Dominica is much better than in most countries that have indigenous peoples. Big countries like the United States of America are still discriminating against indigenous peoples. In the southern continent, wrongly called South America, by the people who came, we have people being shot in the forest and killed over land rights, over mining rights. And in the Dominica context, I stand here as a minister. Mrs. Wilson sits here as a PS. We're part of the government. We're part of the policy-making process. And so we actually have a model we can share with countries that are more prosperous than us. So it's those things I want our Braves across the region, across the island space to celebrate, because we have a lot we can offer as good practices to the rest of the countries who do have even larger populations than us.
Mr. Minister, you kind of touched on the question I'm going to ask here, and she as well. But in all of this, you talk about the activities and the projections. What would be, if you may, a definition for this Kalinago 120 initiative? It's a birth date, but it's a progressively developing date that reminds us that we have been dedicated a part of the island that we can continue to develop. But also it is important to note that while we have this dedicated space, we have the liberties to participate in national events and to move the culture and heritage beyond the confined borders of a Kalinago territory. And so it is something that while we are reaching out and expressing the heritage to the rest of the world, we're also inwardly re-educating ourselves and refining ourselves. And so it is an internal movement that hopes to celebrate all of the achievements. And so for us, it's a deep learning experience, but while we want to share what we have with other folks. And I do Creole too. Bis lang patwa si Kalinago si. Olo mo ada si Kalinago. Langage.
The Kalinago culture and heritage, as well as the activities for the 120 initiative, it's mainly enclosed in the Kalinago space. However, it was spoke of the initiative being for everyone. What is being done for the spread of this initiative as well as its sustainability in Dominica?
So yes, so most of the activities will happen in the space, because we do want people to come in and immerse in the culture and more than ever, and spend some money there also. Help with the economic development there also. But we were mindful that there are many historical sites across the country that are linked to the Kalinago. So we're going to bring it out. And that's why we're really calling on the communities that have a foundation of Kalinago to participate and to be part of that movement. And so we do have brothers in the Petit Savan and that general South area. One of the first settlements on the island for Kalinago was Itasi, that's Vikas. And all of the Koli, who is actually a Kalinago word, the name Koli was a Kalinago, so we do have people there. We have the Kasha Ku, Scott said, that's a Kalinago name actually. So we do have people all around. We just want people to celebrate that they actually living on really sacred lands, and that we cannot confine the activities to our space. And so if we find partners, we're looking for partners as we speak, who want to allow us to express the heritage in the communities. We are more than willing to come out. Because, like I said earlier on, the foundation of the White people is really, really strongly Kalinago. And of course, people of African descent do have a part to play in that also.
Morning, Minister. One thing that stood out to me in the list of activities planned is the Kalinago storybook. So I'm interested, who is the author, what people collaborating on it, and is it a children's book or something that adults can read as well?
So many months ago, I decided to debunk some of the stories told to me that was written in text, speaking to the fact that my ancestors were barbarians and cannibals. And so I took on the course of history as a really learning tool for myself, but as a serious academic pursuit to retell the history of the Kalinago people. And then I got a bit distracted and I got into public life. And the idea I had was one to really create a new set of documentation that could be used at the school level, because I realized, I taught for many years myself, that we were lacking at the school level within the curriculum material that could be used to teach. And everyone say, oh, the white man gave me that, but no one making a change and investing in doing it. And so we partnered with the UNDP at the ministry level and proposed that we have a publication that speaks to children at the lowest level. So we do have a coloring book. Because we felt at the time that there are some of us in the country that we can't change their minds. For want of a better term, some of us, we lost already. So we have to invest more in the children. And so we did the coloring book. That's the first piece. The second publication it's a comic book that builds a character around two Kalinago individuals, one male, one female, and it retells the story in the eyes of a youth. And the next two pieces we will do in the coming months and years is to do a novel and then a serious text that debunks all of the misinformation that was handed down for many years. And so we over the period of 2 months or so, we engaged various people across the Kalinago landscape, cultural elders, teachers, cultural activists, historians, and to get from them what they felt would be a best narrative to tell to children and to young people. And so we had webinars. It was during the COVID period, so we had webinars and people interacted. And out of that, we were able to build a set of items that should be retold and reinterpreted. And at the time, we worked with the UNDP. We had a call for proposals for a writer to put all of those ideas together. And lucky for us, we were able to pull out Washla Gregory Abbas, who has some kind of a heritage and who has a lot of experience in media and storytelling, and also the Creole. So he was able to put all of these ideas into these publications. And then we also worked with local illustrators to do all of the illustrations. So what we do now is in my view, a truer reflection of what Kalinago history should be for the children of kindergarten age and also for younger people. And so what we'll do, we will launch those texts, and then we make available to all schools. Because I firmly believe that every child across the board in Dominica should have access to that information. And now here's the other part of it is, so no teacher can say there's nothing available to teach Kalinago heritage. And also it is a call for young intellectuals. And if I speak broadly for the rest of the Dominican society, to engage in researching your history. Because I'm really tired of people saying that, oh, the white man tell a lie. Well, let's research now and do it. And we only have a standing iconic figure in Dr. Leonard's Honey Church. Laimo Sanokaife. Who's going to replenish that stock that's going to fade away eventually? And who's going to continue telling the stories and researching? So it's a real call to young intellectuals within the Kalinago space, but also to people around the country who have to help us build a sense of pride in being really good white Ecuadorian citizens.
How is technology assisting in this efforts?
So in the entire publication work. So when we did the initial research, we used the multimedia platform. We interacted on Zoom and also web. So we created webinars on Zoom to have conversations. Some people were off island, some people were shut in because of the COVID, so we used that. And also the illustrations we're using are really digitalized drawings, so we're also using that. And so although we are very mindful of the heritage and culture is important, tradition is important, but we can use emerging technology to assist in retelling. And so eventually we will do, there will be a movie at one point. There will be some Netflix, a docu-series at one point. And so we have to use all of those mediums. And there will be apps. And maybe the next time I speak here, it will be a hologram, who knows? So because we are excited that we can use the technology to push the heritage and culture, and it cannot be tied down in the past that doesn't allow us to grow. So we've been using the multimedia platform to do that.
Any games?
We will do some games. We'll have some apps. We have young men like Coffee there who have some expertise in building on that. We're also building a cadre of young researchers and people in multimedia to do film and photography, to capture all of that. Because the story that has been told for so many years was from the lens of someone else. So I think it's an appropriate time to see it from our own lens, and from a grassroots movement, to see it from the Kalinago eyes. And even in that room, we see Kalinago men. I said, Kami's there, Kalinago guy, we're doing multimedia, right there. So we do have people who are excited, and I know that you as the media people in your houses, you're more than willing to assist us. Give us some of your time and energies to capture our stories, capture the heritage. And so we really want to call on you to come into this space and help us promote the event. This cannot just be a one-time press event. I challenge you to come in the Kalinago space and walk the ground with us and capture our stories.
You want to ask a Creole question now? Give him the opportunity. Sure. Why not?
That's true.
Well, bonjour. Dis-moi, zone une initiative pour célébrer ensemble 20 années con Pep Kalinago. Et puis dis-moi, on y va monter des informations qui s'appliquent sur place.
Ça nous a fait, Lanissa, nous avons essayé parler pour tout Pep, Dominique, tout le monde à la terre. Nous avons Pep qui a retenu Dominique. Et nous avons un héritage qui a pas Dominique. Nous avons fait ça, nous avons fait pour nous connaître héritage ça. Et ça nous avons fait aussi, nous les gens venir au pays Kalinago pour célébrer avec nous, pour célébrer le héritage là nous ensemble. Et on l'a nous avons fait à Dominique qui est de Kalinago et nous ne pas connaître ça. Nous avons parlé de coup de main c'est au barrage Kalinago. Foncière dit il va essayer Kalinago qui travaille. Et il y a pas mon en la main. Et foncière dit c'est un coup de main. Mais bité ça c'est barrage Kalinago. L'autre nom pour coup de main c'est là où on Boronaro. Au cas physique mon avec ça. Ça c'est un coup de main au vitesse comme ça. So nous les monde connaître bité ça. Et puis on l'eau héritage Kalinago qui vivent dans Sano Café. Et Pep Kalinago ils connaissent ça. Et nous célébrer ça pour nous essayer comment on 120 l'année. Mais nous connaissons l'histoire Kalinago c'est d'être 5000 l'année. nous ici c'est mon vient à ce gros bateau nous t'es qu'à trafiquer pays Caraïbes là et bien nous pas qu'à y passer côté nous là pour longtemps encore.
Et puis combien de mois et combien d'années initiative ça va faire?
So c'est above day nous avons commencé July 4th et bien nous avons fini l'autre année et bien nous avons fini nous avons terminé ça en Vaval.
Thank you, Minister. Let me say a special thank you to all members of the head table, including the acting Prime Minister who graced us with his presence this morning. And the media, of course, we are very thankful for your presence here this morning and for your participation. And as Minister rightly said, we look forward to you continuing to assist us in the publicity of the many activities. As was mentioned earlier, we have 3 months set up, and as we go along, we will do other activities. We're looking at some other activities for the following months up to the time when we will decide to end. And so we expect the media to continue to give us the full support. Let me publicly thank the Press Secretary for assisting us for this activity this morning. Thank you, Mrs. Jura Smith. All right, so we've come to the end of our press conference. Thank you again.